Alright, I just checked bevel's pinion to verify that there was way too much press on the bevel gear. And you can see from here, you know, there's a little bit of, I call it dusting. The dusting here means that just regular usage sometimes. You'll have a lot more dusting over a lot of usage. A lot more dusting if there's less touch of the bevel, so you don't see very much here. I don't know if there was a lot of usage on this or not, but there's just not very much there. That kind of leads to my suspicion. So here you can see there's too much removal of the bushing there, and that's because of the upward press. Now I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's your bevel gear, and it's got a couple shims on there that allow it to come down further into the pinion. So as this has got this upward press here, like this, as it turns, it will rotate and grind a little bit into the bushing, and direct result right there, what you can see. So just to confirm it again, where's the motor real quick? Let me move things. Where did the motor go? Got so many shim parts right here. Motor's over there. So you take your motor here, and you've caught it coming in, but it comes in and this is pressed too far close to the pinion, so it's like this as it cycles, and that kind of pressure will remove a little bit of noise depending on how much it touches. Sometimes it touches way too much. There is a little chip here in the tooth of the bevel, but it looks fine. Nothing to be concerned about. However, this won't happen anymore because the shimming will be removing away from this issue. You can see there again, it's too much press of onto the bevel. So if you're watching this video, you can also watch my bevel to pinion explain, or maybe it's pinion to bevel, I can't remember. Bevel to pinion, I think, explained, goes over that, and you can see the results here of what I'm saying. So definitely bevel to pinion was not good. It was too much pressure, so we're going to go away from that. Now there's quite a bit of shims on the top here. Well, maybe not number wise, but height added onto the top. So there might be only 2 shims here, but the height looks like to me maybe 0.2, maybe 0.3. Actually, it looks more than 0.3. And there's a big shim here. This big shim here is probably a 0.3, with this making it probably a 0.4, if that makes any sense. Just to check and kind of show. I believe this is a 0.3, but it looks big. It could be a 0.5, which it is, probably in the 0.5 region. So we're actually looking at probably no, this looks like 0.2 to me. So yeah, that's a 0.5 and a 0.2. We got 0.7 on the top, which is too much. There's never been a time when I'm shimming and it's that much on the top. So right away, I'm just going to take the 0.2, put it on top here, and we're going to have just 0.2 for right now. We'll go ahead and insert it in here, and you want to check and see if there's any scraping as it rotates here with the gearbox shell. Another way to tell is if it was centered. So if you put this gearbox shell on here and you rotate this now, does it grind? there's a lot of what looks like to be friction, and what you can do is test this by adding 0.1. I think these are the 0.1s. I'll be able to tell once I get it in my hand. Yeah, these are 0.1s. Go ahead and add that on the top here. I'm going to remove what's on the bottom, just because I'm going to start over on the shimming here. That looks like another 0.5. Alright, so go ahead and put this down on here. And that you can see right there, right away, that spins a little bit better than the 0.2. So go ahead and close it up again. And you can take the screwdriver and spin it here. And right away you can tell that that spins much better. Okay, so there's no friction now at all right there. What you're going to need to do is check for height overall. Right there, there's a lot of height that needs to go on the bottom. I'm going to put the 0.5 back on, and probably a 0.2 is what I'm going to take here. Thing about these bushings, you want to make sure that they sit all the way hard in there. Because once you start shimming, if the bushings move, then it messes up your shimming. You don't know if something's too tight or too loose. Okay, you can hear that, and there's quite a bit of movement still. I want to say that I could probably take that 0.2 off and add a 0.5 instead. Maybe there's 0.3 left of movement. Alright, so now we got 1 on the bottom here. And 3 on the top. And of course there is some free movement. Looks like maybe get away with a 0.2. But then you got to tighten too, so we're going to go ahead and put a 0.2 on the bottom. Let's see if we can get away with tightening it. There is up movement. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten. Just trying to find the screws that go to this here. Here's one. Now again, you don't want to overly tighten this. You just want it tight enough that it's tight. It's closed. You don't want to use all your muscles to tighten it. Right there. That's as tight as you want it. And there's still at least 0.1 millimeters of movement, just to show that it can bounce up. There's a gap there. Now when you're doing these gears here, these aren't washed, they're still grease, so the grease kind of adds to, kind of gives a friction effect that it won't continually spin. Just to note that for people. So I'm going to go ahead and close the edges off here. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'm going to do some motor height adjustment. shims on top there, okay. Alright, we'll just set that aside for now. I actually need to use the other gearbox, so all the shims came off on there. Just to note it. Use the other gearbox. I don't need any of the screws. Go ahead and put this in place. And now what you're going to do is check motor height. Okay, so I do this with the body. The reason being is because, like I checked it earlier, it looks like there's a gap when installed like this. So because of that, you can't just use the pistol grip with the gearbox shell. So I'll go ahead and put this in here. And we want, where's the screw at? It's right here. Need some more room on this desk with all these tools. These screws have been a little stripped, so they actually don't hang on to my screwdriver anymore. So I kind of have to go work around it. Okay. So you want to get this best on there you can, and then tighten it in place. Have I actually got it on there? I don't know yet. Oh, I did get it on there. Nice. Alright, so you want to kind of hold this straight as you can in here. This actually looks pretty darn good. Go ahead and install the motor, which is right here. This part, you don't actually need the screws. If you're really good, I guess. Just press this up on in there flushly. And just look down at your beveled pinion and make sure that they come together. Motor height is adjusted properly. So go ahead and take this out. Okay. Alright, so now you have the pistol grip, the motor, the end plate, the gearbox in on both sides with shims on both sides of the bevel. You're going to check the beveled pinion and you're going to hold it like this. Get your screwdriver and check play. There's way too much play there. You're going to start moving some shims from the bottom of the gear to the top. Go ahead and undo this, and painstakingly you're going to have to redo these screws every single time. So this is why the V3 do not like working on, or excuse me, V2s. I do not like working on V2s, especially when they have gaps between the gearbox and the pistol grip when installed with the lower body. I say this all the time because it can be just time consuming. I don't want to say a nightmare because I know how to do it. It's easy to do, it's just time consuming. Alright, so at this point I'm going to move 0.3, let's move I can't really move 0.3 from the bottom to the top because we don't have a 0.3. All we have is 0.5s, and I'm pretty sure that 0.2, 0.5s is not going to do it. I don't think a 0.2 is going to do it. I think it's going to take at least a 0.3. So at the top here, we have 0.3, correct? So what we could do, use a little bit of math here. Where's the thing out here? Pull these off real quick. We could put these on the bottom and move a 0.5 at the top with the 0.1, which would make it 0.6 on the top. Kind of a little bit more of what I'm looking for. Go ahead and put the point one on first, and then this one. Basically just moving everything around here. This one. This one. And this one's kind of big. I don't think that can be done. I think this is going to have to be taken off and moved somewhere else. From what I remember, this is a .2 caliper piece. Right here. Yeah, so let me put this back here. Grab .2 and put on. Alright. The reason I removed that one, put a smaller one, but it's the same height, is because I don't want it hitting the spur gear teeth, because it's kind of too wide, and so it starts to get close to that. Alright, so now we got the shims the way I want them. Painstakingly go ahead and screw them all together again. I'm actually almost pulling a Chris here, I'm not thinking. Sorry Chris, just a joke. Alright, now to check it again, since we got it all together. See, look, this motor has no strength whatsoever. It may not actually maybe getting bad on the strength, so we'll have to check. And there's still slightly too much movement here. So what we're going to want to do is take it apart and add, I think .2 on top would be just perfect in my opinion. So fast forward. Slightly too tight. Okay, so go ahead and divide the shims and we'll be done. There'll be no point in checking for me because I already know. Are you serious? The screw stripped. Yep, screw stripped. Well, the hex screw finally stripped to a point that I had to drill it out a little bit and hammer in a new screwdriver. So here's the new ones that I'm going to put in. These are, I think, GMP quality, which is a lot less prone to stripping than this is. So these are going out in the trash. All right, now that I got the stripped screw taken care of, now I can go ahead and finish this off. I still need to remove the .1. God, these down here might strip too. I wish I had some way to change them out. I do not. I'm only worried about one. If that last screw stripped, I would like not to have a second incident. Seems like we're okay for now. Just a second, I need my caliper. Okay. Alright, so go ahead and put this on here. Here. Make sure as you close it up you check your work. You didn't put on the wrong shims or something. You see that spins pretty well. And there's up and down plug. Okay, so I got it all screwed back together. Now I'm going to check beveled pinion. Alright, good. Go ahead and take it apart and start doing the other stuff. Thank God these screws. I couldn't stand the other screw stuff. Put that to the side. Pull this out. Now that we're done with the hardest part, pull this off here. Make sure that these shims stay on the bevel. Okay. Alright, first things you want to do is take this out. Take off the top here of the Auto-shim set thing. There's a shim on the bottom here. If I can get access to it. Looks like there are two shims. So the spur gear is sitting pretty high. There's actually three shims here. Or it's two put together as one. And I don't know, that looks like one. This looks cut in half, it's really weird. Okay, so that's probably, I'm pretty sure this is a 0.3. This is at least maybe a 1.5. Okay, so for clearance here, you really only need a 0.2 of clearance. You want to check your work real quick. See right there, you can tell that's all you really need. Just for the hell of it, I'll add 0.1. Make sure that the shims do not get lost. See, that's all you really need is a 0.2, but I'm going to put 0.3 there. Go ahead and put on the other gear, not losing the shims, and check between the two gears. There is plenty of space, so that's not going to be an issue. Excuse me, didn't mean to hit the camera. Alright, so now how am I going to do the top here? I'm going to steal this off here. The spring goes there. I'm going to flip this upside down so that the wider edge is on top. And then I know that's definitely probably not going to be enough shims, so let's go ahead and just start adding something here. These are extra spare shims from other guns. This is probably a 1 millimeter. It's thick for sure. Maybe it's a 0.5, but I'm just going to throw that on there. Don't care. Go ahead and close this up. And you can press the gear up by hand. The axle at the bottom is kind of really far out for me to reach it. The depth comes down so I can reach it pretty easily. Go ahead and grab the shim here. I won't lose any shims to this bevel because this bevel is done. just set that to the side. Move these here. And now what you're going to do is just test for the spur gear. I put another shim on there, don't know what it is because it's not going to matter right now. You can actually look inside here too and see that there is a lot of space. So we're going to need a lot of really big shims. That's why I don't really care, because it's going to just take a lot. And a lot. How much space is there right now, I'm not really sure. It's kind of hard when you have so many shims on here. And trust me, there are a lot of shims on there. Looks like that last one might have been too much. So at this point, probably going to add a 0.1. Now, there's this saying that people like to say that the tightest gear of them all should be the spur. I'm going to say that that's incorrect. They should all have the same amount of play because they're gears. They're not anything in difference between them. They're gears. So people like to, mention that the piston between the sector doesn't need as much tighteningness, and really, I just call that a load of crap. You should just shim them all the same. So you believe what you want. That looks a tad bit too tight, in my opinion. Actually, it looks perfect. Can I visually see if there's a gap? There's so many shims on here, it's not even funny. I can't even tell if you can see that, but I'm not good at the camera. There's a lot of shims there. So it's kind of hard to visually see on the inside. There's definitely enough on the touch, so go ahead and undo this here. And the spur gear is finished. Yes, it's so much better and faster than the beveled pinion. Crap. Just move this down here. I'm just going to show the sector gear. Got some shims underneath it. I'm going to take them off. If I can get them off here. Okay, take off the spring. Check the top here to make sure it's even. It is even. So if I was to apply some shims, the only part is that they kind of do not sit even. And you can see that. In that case, sometimes I remember there being a piece that went down in here. It kind of fixed that issue, but it seems that that is not fixed for now. Anyways, throw your cutoff in here after you check this first. It's definitely got to go up. Let's just grab that 0.5 that they have here, put it on the bottom, put it back into position. Wow, you kind of needed that 0.5. I want to say that that's perfect with the 0.5. Put this in and check to make sure that it doesn't, get affected by this. What's in the way is this plate? Okay, selector plate was pushing up the cutoff. So go ahead and reinstall this and check to see if you've got clearance. You got clearance there, so cutoff can be thrown out of the way for those using at least 0.5. Throw that out of the way. You want to put this in here. You want to check up and down movement quite a bit. Go ahead and throw in the, you probably want to use this a big shim. Something with a big diameter. Here's something with a big diameter. So we can throw off the spacing. Oh wow, it's going to take a lot more shims. Again, I'm just going to keep using big diameters here. And that helps keep it straight. Look at that. So now it's nice and parallel because of all those. Holy crap, there's still a lot of space. Man, VFC, what are you thinking? So just go ahead and keep adding these shims on here. Tons of shims. Close it up here. That's pretty close to perfect. Getting on the way there. Let's try a 0.2. And I have no idea where that went. Oh. Okay, got it. Closed up here. That seems too tight. Let's take that off and just add a 0.1. Alright, put that on here. That seems perfect. Go ahead and tighten. And last thing you want to kind of check is in between the gear while it's tightened, because the depth will change when it's tightened. Every gear becomes more parallel and straight. When you're just holding gearbox on one shell, the gears kind of are unbalanced on one side. So when you're looking at it visually, if there's not a lot of clearance, then it's going to be a tight fit, and you need to check that while the gearbox is screwed shut and look at it. And see right here, it's too tight. It's dropping down onto the spur, and like what I said, it looks like it clears it, but it was not clearing it. And you could tell right when I first spun that. You can even hear the resistance in it. If you were to cycle this, it would cycle, but it's going to leave a nice little spiral effect on your spur gear, which I see people leave and just, I don't know if they don't care or if they just don't understand the concept of free movement and allowing no friction. So pull this this up here and just go ahead and move some shims if I can get them to come up off here. So I'm going to take these two that were on the top, it's a 0.1 and something else, and I'm just going to throw them onto the bottom. And it's trying to fall off. The shims are bigger than the axle. Alright, got that in there. Now if you check by eye again, looks like there's plenty of clearance, but until you close it, that's the only way to tell. So on this part, really. And while we're already here, since I think that that's going to be correct, let's go ahead and throw the tappet plate in there and check the shimming on that. And if this was a piston I was going to use, gear is kind of high. However, with this piston, the width of this teeth is much smaller than a normal piston. Here's the other piston, and it seems to be level. That's what it looks like, yeah. So I might have what is perfectly done already. So go ahead and put this in here. And right now it looks like there's plenty of space. Closes up here. Just so you can say, you know, it's done. Put it all in there. And I have done this an insane amount of times. So the process by which I do it is pretty quick. I'm not saying everything to really help you. I mean, there is plenty of movement. As I move it back and forth, the sector gear doesn't move. If you were to look down, there is at least a 0.1 gap between the tappet plate and the sector gear. Now I'm going to check between the sector and the spur, so you grab your flashlight again and look down there, and there's a gap here, and there's a gap here. So when you turn it over this way, the sector gear is going to try to fall on the spur, which there is enough of a gap, and you can, ouch, that really hurt. And you can really hear it just keeps on spinning. It's kind of tapping into the tappet plate, which needs to be removed. Pull it back as far as I can, but the only thing it's hitting into is the tappet plate. So go ahead and take this out, and you should be done now. You want to check your finalized work. And see, again, I only do this once. Once I'm done shimming, it's done, unless I add new parts in there, or if a part fails and it has to do with the shimming needed, like I need to add a new tappet plate, check the shimming with the tappet plate. But other than that, once I do this, I'm done. The only thing I will do is check with a watt meter, because you only need to do it once. If you do it enough times, you'll know you only need to do it once. Doing it multiple times means you don't know you're shimming, you don't know how to say you're finished. You're just going to keep going in there. And like I've said, don't go for the best noise. This is a mechanical process. If you go for best noise, you're not going to really know if you have it shimmed properly. I've seen people go for the best noise all the time, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go for a mechanical process. Your gears rotate mechanically. Of course, some noise is bad. You want to make sure that you remove on noise that, you know, too much motor high adjustment, low will be bad, but you want to make sure that mechanically everything is adjusted properly. I hope I'm saying this so people understand, but you can see right there the gears spin very nicely, and you want to check by rotating it over again. And this part's hard for me because I gotta use a different finger, and I accidentally touched the axle. I'm not used to using this other finger, by the way. So you're just, ouch, just checking to see that it's not hitting into anything. There's plenty of free spin right here, spin movement. I mean, you can see that it's not even trying to get as fast as you can. I'm not going for that. I'm going not for a number of rotations. I'm going for, you know, is this shim properly is what I'm going for. You don't want to go by numbers because you're going to be going by bearings and so forth. And it looks like my time is up on the recording, but everything looks perfect. This is done. Look between here. Yeah, this is done. Bam. That's what you would do here. This is done. So if you were to shoot this, you know, you can tell right there that it spins great. There's no more springs. This is not auto-shimmed anymore. This is, you know, gun is going to shoot without auto-shimming gears.